I hope my screen. Lindsay?
Yeah.
Okay. So today we are going to discuss a very important topic that is related to the empathy triad. But before that, quick reflection and revision of last yesterday's topic. So we have discussed how the silent signals need to be decoded, when to focus, what to focus, and where to focus, so that our communication channels would be optimized, right? And the reflection points actually we could not discuss because of the time constraint. So, first reflection question that we need to go deep is however. So, no. Uh, do you want me to recap, or it's okay to directly go to the reflection point?
No, go ahead with the
Reflection.
yesterday's
Okay.
session. Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you ever interacted with someone who is saying all the right words, but your brain instantly flagged them as insincere or sarcastic based purely on their body language? This is something, the question is something which we need to ask in our crucial conversation, and we have discussed how to figure it out. Actually, if there is some insincere and sarcastic behavior that we are noticing, then what message actually we are getting and how to figure it out, we had discussed yesterday. And this question will actually bring us to instant awareness.
Yeah.
So the action step based on that is we can watch a video, interview, or dramatic TV scene today with the sounds completely muted. This we have discussed also yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So somehow I could not do it. I was a little occupied with deliverables. So maybe
Yeah.
today I'll try to catch up. And in that way, what we need to do is guess, we need to try to guess the shifting emotions dynamics and power struggles purely by observing the actor's micro gestures and body synchronization.
Yeah.
This will be this will be really fun activity
Because
as well as yeah.
yeah, because yeah, yesterday I like the exercise which is given because yes, I watch series, like a TV, etc. So that is a good way to actually mute TV and see what other person, it is kind of good practice to watch and observe the body language of other the whoever on the screen, and then turn on the TV and see what's happening because we have this great power to observe the people, their body language, their movement of eyes, head, whole body, and then interpret those particular things because as you know, like in language or in communication, the biggest part is the body language. So that is really good to learn. And just quick experience, last 2 3 days we are reading this topic, and I came across an experience where yesterday, before yesterday, there was a session in our office, a HR session. They talk a lot about how to develop your potential. So it is around 120 members were there, and at the end of that session, it was 45-minute session, and at the end of the session, I want to say something, but then I stopped myself. But then what I did at the end of this thing, just she was there, the presenter, and I was there in the call, and then I asked, just introduce myself to her as an NLP coach and this thing. But then really what I observed there is, since she just finished that 40 minutes of the talk, and she actually tried to wind up the session, she was not at all paying any attention to what I'm saying, you know and her body language and her eye movement and this thing is actually kind of closure, so she didn't get absolutely no message from me. But she was talking about the things, that saying that, no, Milind, this is something you need to do separately. It doesn't come into the corporate this thing, corporate initiative. And see, so whatever she was talking is not at all what I actually ask her to, in that way. Actually,
She
I
assumed
was
something, and she was in her own assumptions. She was presume on her own presumption, she was
Yes.
giving the comments.
Yeah. So all everything go into that direction, and then really within 2 minutes, since we are reading this topic nowadays, I really understood that since she's just finishing this thing, she's totally her brain is into winding up and not paying any attention. Yeah, because I explained her that yes, I took two meditations in office. Yes, I conducted this thing, but absolutely she has not taken any particular point from that. But that is learning actually. That is how reading these sessions and being this session is helpful because in nowadays it is a little bit difficult because we are since I'm working from home, it is not this thing, but wherever possible I turn on my video and ask others to be on video because the body or their eye movement and their talks it's talk a lot about them, or about the situation. That helps actually, to build the rapport and resolve the situation. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, just quick addition.
Yeah, very true. And yeah, it really uh, gives further input. And thank you for sharing the practical example from which actually we relate and connect. Connection actually makes us enable to better implement next time when we face this kind of situations.
Yeah, and just a
So
very last point. I'm reading a book. I will give the PDF to you. It is just listening, and author talks there that when you're talking to any person, you're not talking to that person. You are talking to his brain. Absolutely, what to understand. How we talk to brain, and that is what we are reading in the screen as well. So awesome. Thank you.
thank you. So now moving to today's topic, it's very nice topic today is the empathy triad, right? So let's go a little deeper into understanding what is this empathy triad. Okay. So we often speak of empathy as a signal, right? Or how many types of empathy? Let's start with this. How many types of empathy we know? To be specific, there are three kinds of empathy. One is cognitive empathy, second is emotional empathy, third is the empathic boundary. These are the triads that we are going to explore. So when we often speak of empathy as a single simple trait, but neuroscience reveals it is actually a triad of three distinct mental abilities. First is cognitive empathy, second is emotional empathy, and third is empathic concern. To truly connect with and lead others, we must master all three. So everyone wants to connect, and that's how actually the rapport really gets built, right? We have gone very deep into building rapport in NLP, and here it is even deeper, wherein it says that we need to understand and um, increase our ability in these three empathy. One is cognitive empathy, emotional empathy, and empathic concern, so that we can truly connect with others and then lead. First, connection is important, and then only we can lead others, and then we must master all the three to be an effective communicator and leader. Now, going deeper to cognitive empathy, it allows us to take another person's perspective and comprehend their mental state. So, another person's perspective, if you want to understand, then cognitive empathy actually plays a vital role and it helps us a lot. It lets us see the world through their eyes. However, this is a top down intellectual operation. A darker side of cognitive empathy is seen in sociopaths. They can perfectly mimic normal emotion and understand how you think. This is a very key thing actually and related to yesterday's thing also. So the sociopaths they can perfectly mimic normal emotions and understand how you think, which allows them to manipulate you flawlessly. But because they lack emotional empathy, they feel no anxiety or guilt while doing so, which is not correct. So they should feel guilty actually if they are not doing for the right purpose. This leads us to understand or go deeper into emotional empathy, which operates bottom up. It is our ancient automatic ability to actually feel what another person is feeling. Okay. So putting ourselves in another's shoes, there is a proverb, right? So something in alignment to that actually we need to think. It is our ancient automatic ability to actually feel what another person is feeling. When we watch someone suffer, our own brain's pain circuitry lights up in a neural simulation of their agony. Finally, empathic concern goes a step further. It is the mammalian instinct that compels us to care about the other person's welfare and mobilizes us to help them. The mammalian brain actually in the weekly Saturday call actually we have discussed this. What is a mammalian brain that actually we all possess and how actually it connects to the emotional center of our being and controls the emotions that we exhibit. So if someone is very much uh, efficient in emotional intelligence, then this mammalian brain is also playing a vital part in that. So if they felt full emotional empathy for every agonizing injury they treated, they would be paralyzed by distress. Though training, doctors develop an attentional anesthetic using a brain circuit called the temporal parietal junction (TPJ). The TPJ wall, the TPJ walls of emotional contagion. Actually, today a lot of technical jargons are there, so bear with me. So, also emotional contagion, allowing the doctor to maintain cool cognitive focus to save lives. However, the danger arises when this block becomes permanent, walling off the doctor's empathic concern and leaving the patient's feeling completely uncared for. Maybe we will go to the PPT now, which will help us to go deeper and understand it better. So give me a second, I'm just sharing the PPT. Let me know once it is visible.
Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. So we have discussed the three triads. One is cognitive, and second is emotional, third is empathic action or alchemical connection. What is cognitive or alchemical intellect? It is metallurgical, okay, the mystical and scientific dimension of connection. We will try to understand how connection can be built. That is very important and a crucial factor to be noted and implemented. The cognitive part is mind side, the logical center, we can say. And the emotional is the resonant chalice. This is the emotional part. And the empathic concern belongs to this part of the brain. That is the empathic or the catalyst concern. Now, empathy is commonly viewed as single simple trait. And this is actually illusion. How it is illusion, even I am also not sure. Since you have read this topic, right, Milinji, I could not actually. Do you remember?
Empathy is commonly viewed as a single simple trait. No, I'm not recalling why it is called
Okay.
illusion. Yeah.
No problem. Then, what is the reality? Reality says neuroscience defines it as an alchemy of three distinct mental abilities to lead, to connect, and to heal. One must master the entire triad. Yeah, this we understood. It's total triad. The three dimension has to be mastered if we want to connect, lead, and heal. So the audit here is before reacting to a tense interaction today, pause and ask yourself, am I trying to understand them, feel them, or help them? Recognizing the difference is the first step to mastery. This is really important actually. This one situation actually today only I faced,
Uh-huh.
wherein one of the manager who is reporting to me
Uh-huh.
was a little stubborn to accept that there is some misconduct or loophole in the process that
Mm-hmm.
his part and one of his teammate was actually responsible for. So I was making him understand, but in the process, when he was beating around the bush and coming to the same point again and again, I kind of lost the control and kind of told that okay,
Yeah.
hmm, kind of I thought that okay, let's break the loop here, and if you still cannot understand, then it's okay. Let's leave it. Then actually he felt it, and he understood that he is beating around the bush. But and actually we changed the topic and we understood and we came to the point also. But at that point of time, maybe if I would have asked, am I trying to understand him, feel him, or help him? What is the difference between these three, and which one of these three I am trying to do? Maybe my perspective and my approach would have been more refined. So they, these three might not go in silos. All the three elements need to be there. First, we need to understand the other person, and then we feel what they are feeling and help them to understand what perspective that they're missing to uh, take from the scenario that is being the crux of the matter, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because a quick addition, I just remember from your from what the experience tell what you just shared. Okay,
Mhm.
in a book they have given a really good example, and I like that example. In just previous slide, we seen that a doctor when they do the operation, okay, they have this practice or they practice this when they have this wall. So that they cannot emotionally do the operation or surgery, so they can actually bifurcate both the situation. They keep themselves away from the emotions trigger, and they can only focus on the working mind, which is actually doing the surgery. Okay, that really helps them. But the worst part of it, that is what they explain in a book really nicely, that when a patient or the nurse, when they go to patient to check their report, normally what happens, and that is an example given in the book, that a nurse goes to the patient bed, and they just take the record from their screen. There is a monitor, etc., and all that, and they didn't speak to the patient. Absolutely, they are just get the readings, etc., done, and they go to the next patient. Okay, so what the book suggests, or what this thing they have given the training to all the nurses and all that, at that point, actually that patient actually expecting to make some kind of connection or talk to them, where these doctors and nurses are not at all speaking to them. So when they realize that okay, they need to talk to the patient, and that is going to make a big results, and then they started getting a very good results from the patients and their health, because they are completely lost the connection between the like they are completely in their cognitive mode, which is in this particular screen, where they're just following the routine procedures. And when they asked the nurse were saying that since they have to complete 100 patients in that 2 hours time, they don't have time to speak. But after the lecture with the author and this thing, they realize that yes, that connection is required. So that's really, so in your example also it connects. That is what other person thinks. And now since I'm reading this book, just listening, it is exactly matching what you're just discussing now. It is called the monkey sees, monkey do. Okay, so they have done the experiment where one monkey is observing and other monkey is throwing a ball. So since one monkey is observing it, it has the same brain response from the first monkey. If first monkey is eating something, the second monkey who is observing has the same kind of brain pattern. So that is what here in this thing, that is cognitive, emotional, and empathetic person. This is all automatic response. We always have this neural connection with other person or the situation or the person which is happening in front of us. We always have that connection. But the illusion is the other person is actually going through the reality, whereas you are watching, you are going through the perceptions. It is not the reality. It is the perception of the reality. So yes, there is a way, basically, in my book they are saying it is a rewiring. And that is what exactly you just mentioned, that yes, you need to actually connect to that person, because he's completely in different world. His thinking is totally different. So we need to connect with that particular person to understand what exactly happening. So yes, office situation is a practical one. I completely understand. I go through that this thing. But at the same time, what particular mental condition the person in front of you, once you understand that, then it is very easy to understand the situation and his view of the things. So yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. This example that you have given has actually brought even better light, and
yeah,
now we understood why it is called illusion if it is only the cognitive mind is applied. The
yeah,
doctors were more cognitive, intelligent, and still they could not be the only reason to cure the patient, because they have not uh, built that empathy connection that nurses were building. So
yeah,
this combination actually is going to bring the acceleration. Yeah,
yeah,
that's very true. So going to the next slide, go deeper. The cognitive empathy, the ability to take another person's perspective and comprehend their mental state, is cognitive empathy. How is the mechanism? It's a top-down intellectual operation. It allows you to see the world exactly through their eyes, mapping the reality without necessarily observing their emotional weight. This is very
yeah,
important. This is the last part. Not necessarily we need to absorb their emotional weight. They
yeah,
might be undergoing under severe distress because of the situation that they are in. Being empathetic doesn't mean that we are going to take their emotional weight, emotional burden, and we
yeah,
also feel low. No,
yeah,
but we need to emotionally intelligent enough to see their pain with detached observer mindset. So the practical scenario here is a negotiation, dealing with a difficult client, suppress frustration and deploy cognitive empathy. So how map their worldview, identify their incentives and fears, use this intellectual map to find common ground without becoming emotionally compromised. See, remember this common ground thing, how it comes and become very much vital in the negotiation that we have heard, we have learned in NLP.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's a win-win situation. Where
yeah,
this common ground actually intellectually we need to map without becoming emotionally compromised. And
yeah,
that can happen only when we are seeing things from a detached observer point of view, while being able to understand their pain point,
yeah,
what they
yeah,
are seeing and they are going through.
yeah,
Very, very important topic actually. And
yeah,
for a leader, actually, this is very much required. And what is the darker side? The cognitive empathy. Because cognitive empathy is purely intellectual,
yeah,
it lacks an inherent moral compass. That is what actually the doctor's example that you gave.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sociopaths mirror. Sociopaths perfectly mimic normal emotions and understand how you think. Without emotional empathy, they feel no anxiety or guilt, allowing them to manipulate flawlessly. What is the practical scenario? The warning sign. If you manage a highly charismatic um, but ruthless individual, watch for cold empathy. They may say the right words to win trust, but their actions consistently lack care for others' well-being. This is also very, very vital, very important.
Yeah.
Few of the leaders actually they act as if they are very much caring, and
Yeah.
they actually want the benefit,
Yeah.
the overall
Yeah.
well-being of the other person, but their emotions are different, and because of that, the the cold empathy gets exposed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in their action, actually, it doesn't reflect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only the words are not sufficient. Their non-verbal cues and their actions also should be aligned with their words, what they wanted to show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This cognitive empathy is very much vital to bridge this gap. Okay, so we understood how cognitive empathy is the mind's eye and what is the darker side that we need to take care. Now, coming to the resonate chalice. So, emotional empathy is like our ancient automatic ability to actually feel what another person is feeling. If I am correct, then this is called the limbic system, this part.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, this limbic system or the limbic brain is actually responsible for the emotional body. It is the emotional body of the mind which controls all the emotions. So this is the very ancient, means like when human brain was not very much developed, that from that time it is still existing. The prefrontal cortex, this part, okay, this part has been developed way later when the human being become human being, means they stood up with two legs, and where this part got, this curve has been developed. Earlier, this curve was not there. It was flat, like a steep mountain, kind of. Like a chimpanzee or a monkey. Even monkey also has a better structure. Few of the earlier versions of monkeys, they would be having that kind of thing. So what is the biology around it is that it operates bottom up. When we witness another suffering, our own brain's pain circuitry lights up in a neural simulation of their agony.
Yeah.
Okay, that is what actually even we can feel. That's why if you see sometimes by watching some emotional movies, means also people cry
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they could feel it so actively. So the
Yeah.
practical scenario is the active listener. When someone brings a frustration to you today, consciously surpass your top-down urge to fix it with logic. Pay active attention to facial and vocal signals. Listen and validate their distress. That sounds really tough, right? We need to pay active attention to facial and vocal signals. How it is changing, how their vocal cord is kind of getting very soft or like emotional when the emotion actually gets triggered, and how their facial expression also changes, and when they are describing their distress, we need to actually be more vigilant and become empathetic about their situation. That means we understand their pain, then only we can really be empathetic. So this resonant, the to bring the resonance is very important, emotional empathy. Then the third aspect, that is the catalyst, empathic concern, the mammalian instinct that compels us to care about another's welfare and mobilizes the body to help. Empathic concern is the mammalian instinct that compels us to care about another's welfare and mobilizes the body to help. How? the transmutation. It converts passive emotions, what is passive emotion? The feelings, and passive observations, that is the understanding, into active healing intervention. Healing and understanding. One is passive emotion, one is passive observation. This is also very new thing for me. I didn't think till I come across with this concept from this book. I could not actually relate to this deeper, that the emotion actually is feeling that we understand, but the passive emotion is, if passive emotion is feeling, then passive observation is understanding or realizing, going even more, okay, into active healing intervention.
Yeah.
That's
Because
that.
I'll add a quick
Yeah,
example here for this
yeah,
transmutation. There is the experiment. I watched that in one of the documentary, science documentary.
yeah,
Um, if they actually done the they done the record this thing, and what the theme of that is, if one person fails in a crowded mall or something, just fainted this thing, then people all around, there are say 100 people all around there, no one goes to help, everyone sees that one, observes that one, but no one goes into this thing. When very first person go for help, then everyone comes. They done this experiment in that documentary. They showed in different malls, the behavior of people is exactly the same. If any, and I have observed that many times actually, if one particular person fails in a mall or in a this thing, no one goes to them first. Okay, no one try and get any help and all that. When very first person goes there and touches or try to help, then everyone gathers. This is the common this thing. So yes, the first one, feeling emotions, everyone has that empathy, so that incident triggers everyone. But passive observation happens a lot, and then active means actually going there and taking action and helping him is something, is totally third this thing arrow, which no one wants to go. I In my life again, this is a real example. When we were reading this, when I got my first job, I used to travel by bus, and in the morning 8:30 I took my bus. That bus used to pass by my school, my old school. Okay, and when I jumped, and at that time I was actually emotionally also, I was a little bit low. I know that when I observed, when I reflect on that situation. And what happened, that when my bus passed my school, there were two school childrens around third or fourth standard maybe. They actually somehow missed the bus stop. Okay, and once they realized that they missed the bus stop, they both of them started crying loudly. And now in that bus there are 30 people sitting in front of me, but no one bothered to ask them what actually happened. But since I know, because they are wearing the dress of my school, I know the dress. I know that they missed the bus stop, and everyone start crying. And conductor also didn't pay attention, because bus is just moving, and those two kids are so frightened actually, and they just want to get down of the bus in a running bus. And I can't stop myself. I just went them. I ran to them. I hold their hands, and I said, wait, I will get you down. And then I dropped to the next bus stop, which is around 10 to 10 15 minutes. Then I put them into the rickshaw and I get back to school. I dropped them, and then I went to, definitely I got led to the office. But that particular incident, actually, I don't know why it happened, why I'm so triggered, where are the 30 people and all that. I think I felt little bit connection because that was my school. Some kind of connection happened, but actually I that left mark on my this thing. So it is same thing. The feelings, yes, everyone has a feeling. Passive observation, everyone does. But that action part, definitely we need to take action wherever the necessary. Sometimes it is not at all possible, because practically, if you think, because there may be a police case, or there are so many factors involved. When you want to help someone on the roadside and all that, there is a lot involved there. So yeah, we need to take that decision that time. But yeah, that is something to add. Yeah, thank you.
this is a very good example that you have given, Melinzi,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it shows how emotionally you are able to connect with them,
yeah.
and that's how actually you could really step
It's
forward and
not
help.
again, because that is what because I was saying, it is not that straightforward formula. Because
Hmm.
one of my friend in school, friend from school, he is married now. But what he did in New Bombay, in the last, he was late from the office around 12:30 of this night. When we were returning, he found one lady on a highway. and she was nowhere actually. She don't know where to go and all that, and he tried to help her. He bring her into her house, and wife was not there. So there is a whole situation is totally different. Definitely he helped her, but that is not a good decisions, you know. So there is a lot this thing we are laughing at him, but yeah, because there is a lot of this kind of cases happening nowadays in India. Last week only I heard one of my friend, he was absolutely got cheated because of the same thing. He helped one lady, and there is a lot incident happened. So yes, definitely we need to be very careful, you know, to whom you are helping, because yeah, there are lots of fake incidents and cheatings happening all around. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yes, I agree. Yeah. And yeah, this example actually reminds me the example that we got in the NLP session, wherein actually, if you remember, Pawan sir said that if someone is kind of, God forbid, actually this kind of situation never happens, but by any chance, if it happens, then he says that you need to point out one person and call, you don't know their name, hey, you good gentleman, please
Yeah.
come and help me. So that's how actually you are building the connection.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will just keep watching and nobody bothers actually to start taking the initiative unless until it is a trigger. So that connection, that empathy is not easy for many to build that naturally. But yeah, if we want to become a good leader, then definitely we need to master the skill.
Yeah. So
Uh,
sometimes it fails, you know, like I laughed with my incident. I was walking to office. My office was just a walkable distance, and there was this very old lady, and she is carrying two very heavy bags.
mhm.
And I thought, okay, since she's on my way to the office, just 10 minutes, so I think I'll help her. So I just carry those bags,
Uh-huh.
and after walking 2 3 minutes, what I found,
Uh,
those two bags are full with liquor.
full with liquor.
Liquor bottle, beer bottles, and
Oh,
all that. Here, people, yeah, here some those low income, they yeah. The other lady also approached me, so I thought she was on wheelchair, so very old lady. So I thought, okay, I'll help her. I was returning from office, and
uh-huh.
I thought she may ask me to do something, you know, like help and all that. She asked me to lit up the cigarette. I said, no, I can't do that for you. Yes, I can lit up the lighter, but not cigarette. You know, so funny incident. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, on a lighter note, yeah.
Yeah.
So coming to the catalyst, how it is a catalyst, empathic concern, the mammalian instinct that compels us to care about another's welfare and mobilizes the body to help. This is the that particular center which mobilizes the body to help also, and we exhibit the caring nature towards others because of this empathic concern. And the transmutation, how it happens, it converts passive emotions, that is a feeling, into passive observation, that is a understanding, into active healing intervention. Going back to your story, maybe other people were also feeling pity about the
Yeah.
two children,
True.
but
True.
you went from passive emotions to passive observation. That is the understanding layer, wherein actually you have taken the action. So into active healing intervention. So you have actually taken the pain to additional step to not only help them but also kind of make sure that they are reaching to the school safely. So that is how the healing intervention happens, and that is just because this catalyst empathic concern.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the practical scenario here is the meaningful intervention. How meaningful intervention we can make? This example is a friend is overwhelmed with grief. So when we try to understand why, this is called cognitive empathy. Okay, and everyone become curious and ask why, what happened. So that is nothing but the cognitive empathy, but not exactly you might have connected to their grief, right? We understood what has happened and why Actually, this situation is like this. Then comes the emotional empathy, where the person who asks feels their sadness. Feels means understand their sadness. It need not to take the needless to take the emotional burden that they are having, but understands and feels from their shoes. Then empathic concern is something like that drives you to show up with a hot meal, removing a burden rather than just offering platitudes. So, removing the burden rather than just offering platitudes. What is the action that needed to be taken? Just the action that you have kind of say from your own practical experience. Similarly, the empathic concern if one has, then it transmutes to passive observation and action comes. The real helping hand actually comes into picture when someone has this third dimension, empathic concern. Moving ahead, the empathic boundary. The empathic boundary is there. Then we have the brutal balance, right? And then we have this 1, 2, 3, 4. Shall we try to complete this in next 5 minutes, or we will
Yeah,
postpone?
that's fine. I'm okay with the time. No problem.
Okay, okay. Let's try to give me 1 minute. So let's try to expedite the speed, because if we are
Yeah.
not finishing one PPT and one topic in one day, then we
No, no,
might.
no. Yeah, let's continue. Yeah.
Huh. So the empathy boundary is about the professions surrounded by trauma, demanded by a brutal balancing act to survive the onslaught of shared pain. Something like the doctors and nurse example that you have given. So the word means the T page shield, that is maybe the nurse also, from the example that you have given. Through top-down management of distress, doctors develop an attentional anesthetic. The temporal parietal junction (TPJ) of walls of emotional contagion, allowing cool cognitive focus to save life. Practical scenario is the crisis manager. In a high-stakes emergency, visualize activating your TPJ shield, blocking the room's emotional contagion so you can maintain the cognitive clarity required to guide your team to safety. That's where the crisis manager actually comes in picture and helps in two sense. So visualizing this field allows you to remain effective and compassionate without becoming overwhelmed by the surrounding distress.
This.
That separation, detached observer state, right? That separation.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the same time, when we are doing, we need not to overwhelm. We need not to feel overwhelmed by the surrounding distress. Then comes the brutal balance. How to bring brutal balance between the matrix of balance between compassion fatigue and alienation. Right. The compassion fatigue, what is the cause? Observing too much bottom up emotional pain. Bottom up emotional pain. So, by observing and understanding other situation and feeling their pain to little more causes this compassion fatigue. And what happens as a result? Paralyzes the system, tips into severe distress and burnout. Whereas the alienation, the other extreme, what is the cause? Keeping the TPJ block permanent. What is the result? Walls of empathic concern entirely
Yeah. Yeah.
leaves the patient or peer leaves the patient or peer feeling completely uncared for and cold.
Yeah.
That is how actually the doctors were doing from
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
example that you have given. So some brutal balance actually is needed, wherein none of the extreme is going to help. So the practical scenario is the daily calibration. At
Yeah.
day's end, perform a boundary check. Are you taking clients' trauma home, the fatigue, or did you brush off love, loved one's genuine pain today? That is alienation. Adjust your internal dials for tomorrow. This adjusting our internal dials for tomorrow is the last one, the empathic concept. Yeah. So this boundary set we need to do on a daily basis. You need to understand your own feelings, to understand the feelings of others. And that is the inner compass we must have. Empathy is ultimately an act of self awareness because our brain uses our internal emotional map to stimulate what others are feeling. We cannot connect deeply if we are numb to ourselves. Very, very important lesson actually.
Yeah.
So if we cannot understand our own emotion, if we are very much numb to our own self, then we cannot understand others' emotions as well. Others' pain also looks very much uh, like not so meaningful to the person who cannot understand their own emotion and their own emotional distress. So emotionally become numb is certainly very not a very good state to live in. But I think in this current age, more and more machine intervention and AI intervention and this uh, mechanical life actually bringing that situations be a bit more in the picture. Becoming aware actually makes us more realized and not fall trap of those kind of emotional memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
The practical scenario here is the emotional audit. So feeling disconnected from your team? If so, then what we need to do? Stop looking at them and look inward. Spend 5 minutes journaling exactly what you're feeling by unnumbing your internal map, natural resonance with others, reactivity, with other reactivity. So by unnumbing, if we are kind of become numb to our own internal feelings, then we need to undo that. And that's how actually the natural resonance with others reactivates. Natural resonance with others reactivates. So very important actually this aspect. Many times actually many managers feel disconnected from their team, and few managers actually they are so pro in building the connection with their team, and certainly this is that is because of the empathy that they possess, and that's how actually they can lead very successfully. In the last slide, yeah, this is the summary slide. The triad blueprint. So one is top-down approach, another is bottom-up approach. Top-down approach helps us to understand cognitively. It helps to map their reality without observing it. And the bottom-up approach is the feeling part, wherein actually we resonate with their pain through active presence. And we need to bring the balance between these two by grounding us to the core. That is, know your own feelings unlock to unlock the maps to others. So the balance is very, very important. And the protection is the boundary. Seal your core to prevent compassion fatigue. If the seal is missing, then, or if we are not reflecting deeply enough, then we might actually feel, we might end up feeling the burden of the other person much more than the other person is feeling. It could also be happen, emotional burden. So if that is happening, then we cannot act very passionately, empathetically. So act outward uh, happens when let mammalian instinct mobilize you to help. When we understand the situation and the criticality of it, then there is this action comes. When the real help is being offered to the situation and the real connection, like, even more strengthens. The practical scenario is the master slope. In complex human dynamics, run the loop. There are 5 questions that we need to ask. One is, have I understood them? Have I felt them? Am I helping them? Am I protecting them? Am I aware of myself? These are the 5 questions which actually encompasses today's total discussion. When we ask about on these 5 questions, when we ask or reflect a little deeper, we understand and we can empathize with others also in a practical manner. This is a blueprint for profound connection. Great.
Yeah, awesome.
So we are at the end of this discussion and we exceeded little few more minutes. We have completed this particular topic and we will be starting a new topic tomorrow
Yeah,
at 1:30 p.m. again.
yeah.
So see you then. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Have a nice day. Cheers. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care. Bye.
Bye.